so happy we alive.
Good evening and welcome to Louisville Late Night. This evening we're in beautiful state of Hawaii, and we've been checking into some developments in the decriminalization movement out here in Hawaii. As you know, we've spoken with Pamela Lichty of the Honolulu Drug Forum several times, and people have heard through the grapevine, so to speak, that Hawaii has developed a reputation for what would be considered potent marijuana, but Hawaii also has another reputation and another interest having to do with the marijuana as a hemp and the many uses of hemp. And this evening we're privileged to have with us an environmental attorney by the name of David Frankel, who has been active in this area of hemp. I don't know if you'd call it hemp decriminalization or
recommercialization.
Hemp recommercialization. And with no further ado, please allow me to introduce you to Mr. David Frankel. David, do you live here in Hawaii?
Spent quite a bit of time here ever since Hawaii started its industrial hemp research project.
And when was that?
That was in 1999, actually, the first time industrial hemp was grown legally with DEA permission. A DEA permit was obtained with the help of our state representative, Cynthia Thielen. She was very active with the sponsorship of a company called Alterna to establish a hemp seed breeding research project here in Hawaii.
And so what's happened? What's taken place since that?
Well, actually, I'm not sure if you're aware of the DEA requirements for growing hemp. They're the same as growing or producing or manufacturing any other Schedule I controlled substance. So if you were going to go into the business of making heroin, or if you wanted to go into the business of being a hemp grower, right now, because of the way the DEA views the cannabis plant and all aspects of it as being within Schedule I under the Controlled Substances Act, you have to comply with the same regulations. So for 1/4 acre of a hemp project, they have 20-foot fences, infrared security system, a safe to contain the seeds. It costs about $5,000 to put in the security, and of course this is one of the things that's keeping hemp back. The farmers, anybody who is going to grow a real field of hemp, for example 100 acres of hemp or 10 acres of hemp, it would be prohibitively expensive to put in those kind of security requirements because they're designed to prevent the diversion of a drug. And of course, as we know, hemp is not a drug, and in fact, Pat, when I was listening to your introductory remarks, it occurred to me that we should be really careful about the terms that we use, because the DEA has obtained a tremendous amount of advantage and has caused a tremendous amount of public confusion by giving the impression that hemp is a drug, when of course we know that it's not. And in fact, we know specifically that hemp has been used through the ages, not for a drug purpose, but for food uses and oil uses and shelter and fiber and building materials and things of that nature. And it's not a case where we're saying, oh, well, we want to use drug cannabis stalks to build structures. We're talking about a completely different kind of plant. It's a different variety. It's like if you were to compare a pit bull and a poodle. Yes, they're both dogs, but some people would say a pit bull is a very dangerous dog, and some people say a poodle is not. I'll leave that up for debate among dog owners, but you could also look at grain corn, seed corn. Those are different kinds of corn. There are distinctions made botanically. If you look at the roots of the word marijuana even, it comes from a Mexican slang meaning morango, which meant drug, to get high. And therefore, to express the word marijuana is to refer to drug cannabis, and we typically say the word hemp to refer to non-drug cannabis. And when I say we, I mean internationally, throughout the world, and in the law. So use of terms is very important. In fact, I'm maintaining a case right now against the Drug Enforcement Agency, asking for the court to make an order stopping the DEA from confusing these two things. And if you go on the websites of the federal government, you find out that every agency that I have found, except for the DEA, has distinguished between industrial hemp and marijuana for purposes of their own agency's work. And that includes the White House and the Office of National Drug Control Policy. The ONDCP's website lists slang words for marijuana. Hemp's not on the list. But if you go to the DEA website, they immediately confuse the two by saying that marijuana is cannabis hemp. And right away it leaves business people, scientists, legislators confused, because if they're being asked by people to support hemp, they are automatically assume they're being asked to support a drug, and they see votes dwindling away when they get to the drug issue. So it's very important.
So basically the hemp industry has just been sidelined, if you will, has been
decimated would be
decimated because of this association with or this negative association with marijuana.
Well, if you think of it as slander, you know, it's business slander is what it is. I have clients that have invested millions of dollars in industrial hemp. And how hard is it to sell your product when there's some other party out there, in this case it's a government agency, and they're telling everyone they can that your product is the same as a drug. And then they pass a regulation to that effect, which they did recently. They attempted a regulation that would ban hemp food and oils under the pretext that they contain infinitesimal amounts of naturally occurring THC, like 1 part per million. You know, and Canadian regulations allow as much as 10 parts per million to be exported out of their country. They feel it's de minimis, it has no effect whatsoever. And in Europe, there's no standard like that. Only in the US, they say we must have 0 tolerance for THC. And even though every decided case has found that when they say THC in the law, it only refers to synthetic THC, the DEA has just decided to ignore all those cases, come up with their own interpretation that it means synthetic and natural trace amounts of THC. And of course, this created a lot of activism. I'd be happy to go into that, but that regulation is still a very hot topic right now for us.
This just sounds like so much craziness. I don't know. Do you feel like there's a legal way out of this? What's going to happen with this lawsuit of yours?
Well, let's take a step back for just a second. Industrial hemp was excluded from the definition of, quote, marijuana with an H. That's the way they spell it in the law, from the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. And even in the original definition, there was excluded from the definition, meaning it's not a drug if it's mature stalk, fiber, seed cake, oil, or sterilized seeds or derivatives thereof. And so an entire industry arose through the 1990s. You mentioned that you had interviewed Don Wertschafter. Obviously, he's one of the pioneers. He's the first person ever to press hemp seed oil in the United States, did all the testing on rancidity levels and shelf life and things like that. And then all of a sudden, imagine, you bring up this industry to a point where you can go into any Whole Foods and say, I want some hemp oil, or I want some hemp nut, or I want this hemp cereal. And you get it easily. The DEA decided that that was a threat to them because we were winning in our building of a marketplace for industrial hemp, in our education of the consumers to realize the benefits, the EFAs, the proteins, all the things that make hemp a healthy nutraceutical, if you will. And in response to that, the DEA determined to adopt a secret 0 THC policy. And here in America, obviously, we're used to all kinds of new secret laws and secret courts, but it was quite a shock to me in 1999 and 1998 when I heard rumors that the DEA had established a 0 THC policy. And then one day I was here on Maui and I received a phone call. And I'm sitting in my Maui place, kind of just chilling, nice way.